Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail, and today we're going to be doing another Kerbal Space Program video, where today we're going to be doing a mission, if you can't tell from the title, to Duna, the Mars equivalent of this game. And this is a post-commentary. This is a heavily edited video coming from about 2 hours of gameplay, 2.5 hours. The whole mission could have gone a lot faster if I had been a little less sucky at the game. But we're just going to start here doing a brief look at the ship that I have here, and we're going to be launching here pretty quickly as we have our one crew member, Gilbro Kerman, who's going to be flying what's essentially a small lander module stacked on a bunch of rockets that are meant to do most of the burn out of the Kerbin atmosphere, and then off to Duna. So, and you can already see as we're launching right away that I am shaking violently because I didn't put space tape or struts on the side here. So there's one design flaw that I didn't immediately appreciate. You can also see that my asparagus staging didn't quite work out. It is something I've done successfully in the past, but for some reason here I had my fuel lines crossed a little bit differently, but we're just going on here. You can see I do have this accelerate a little faster than normal, but just trying to get my altitude here, having some trouble controlling because why not? But still, I'm going to be ditching my engines here in just a little bit as my ship is turning a little oddly, a little violently. But still, nothing too bad. This is supposed to be the easy part, getting out into space. Just trying to get my apoaps up to 100 and then getting a relatively decent orbit. Orbit's not super important in terms of height. I just want to be able to transfer with plenty of fuel. So just going here, inspecting my ship. Things are looking pretty good. I have ladders this time. I did have some issues just in terms of getting up in flight, which is a little surprising because normally orbit's okay, but just kind of lingering here as I look around, try and make sure things are set, and just gonna want to accelerate to getting to a kind of better burn. And there we go, raising my engines, and then I jump to map, and then I hear a small explosion in the background, which I'm not sure if translates here, but there we go, my ship exploded. I have no idea why, so I decided to launch, do it again, at least to see if I can figure out why my ship exploded. And there we go. Explosion, because I didn't put struts on. But instead of having the time or energy to put struts on, I just decided to not do a full burn, which keeps my ship from accelerating into itself. So I can get rid of this fuel to design flaw. I'll fix next time. To be honest, I started this mission pretty late. And getting in orbit's supposed to be the easy part, but if it's not Kerbal Space Program without explosions. Now this is not my first mission to Duna, as we get a much prettier separation here. No, I did have one prior mission to Duna that was manned, that did actually involve landing on Duna, but unfortunately I did not have fuel to make it all the way back to Kerbin. But I have sort of improved my game here a little bit. What this video is going to be featuring is really the first time I've tried to do some work with aerobraking. But for now, just got to get a better orbit here. As like I said, I did already produce kind of these clips, and I'm not entirely sure sort of how long we're going to be going into the orbit phase versus going on. But pretty much my first mission, you'll see the ship, and I'll point it out when it comes up here, as we get a pretty well circularized orbit. As you can tell by the periapsis appearing. I just want to be in pretty good shape here. Now, one of the challenges, I guess you could say, with Kerbal Space Program is there's a lot of precision, and it's hard to catch on these nodes. You have to do a lot of mousing, moving around, so most of what I edit through is having to fight the maneuver node system to make sure things work. But you can see the parts of my ship properly going down, falling into the planet, which is nice. But yeah, my prior mission was a similarly designed ship, but it just barely did not have enough delta V. It actually is currently orbiting Kerbin in a very weird orbit, as we'll probably see it here before too long. But now we just get a little bit of a scope here, because this is my first burn. This is my exit burn onto Duna. As you can see my trajectory there. Just trying to get it very clear. There's some good resources online if you're not sure exactly what burn you're supposed to make. But pretty much you want to go from about 135 degrees, burning out the nighttime or the dark side here. And it's going to take about the appropriate amount of delta V to get there. As you can see, I have the Duna encounter all lined up. I have everything there. This is all stock, no mods, no nothing. And although I'm not super close to Duna, nothing in-flight adjustments can't fix. So there we go. Now I'm on an escape trajectory. Not too much from there, just trying to make sure I stay pretty precise on everything. Don't have a lot of Delta V left, but I still have some pretty powerful rockets. So at least one benefit of the design of this is that it can power me. I think I've gotten pretty much to Joule on this design, maybe even to Dres, with probes at least. But this is one of the first missions I've used with this kind of stacked rockets, as we do have our actual encounter, if not now, very shortly. But I have made it, at least with probes, as far as we have a encounter. It's 36 million kilometers away. I want to bring that in just a little bit, but at least I have an encounter. So there we go, just trying to bring that in slightly. And I'm really having to try and watch the nav ball here, but for now, I'll take the encounter. Good enough. And I still have plenty of fuel to go back and forth. In fact, I'm going to be using a lot of the remainder of my fuel for some in-flight adjustments here. As I do skip a little bit, once I'm going to have to fight the maneuver nodes. I can get about to 3 million, maybe less. That'd be great. What I'm trying to do is to get an aero capture just really close to the surface. So the problem is that I'm not really using a lot in the way of guides. I do have some knowledge from prior missions, as I'm just trying to wiggle with the different nodes to make it work. 4 million's good, but I want to get better. Because ideally, I'd like to get within less than 10,000 kilometers, I think, of the atmosphere. That should be enough for the gravity to drag me in and just get me captured. Because what I used to do in my missions is just do a full burn when I'm right beside the planet, pretty much, to try and circularize my orbit, and that is way more fuel than one needs to dump. And I thought maybe it was taking so long because I was using nuclear engines before. But no, you just want to use the atmosphere to your advantage as best you can, as we'll demonstrate here. This is at least giving me a bit of an opportunity to show you, A, what kind of having to deal with the maneuver nodes has to do, and if there's a way to keep actually the data up for one node, I'd love that. But for now, I just have to mouse back and forth. That's part of this game being in alpha development. Ideally something that will change in the future. But still, this is... the mid-flight adjustments are pretty important. As you can see, I only need to change 12.2 meters per second. If I were doing this much closer to the planet, it would take hundreds, if not more, and that's precious fuel that I need, because pretty much the fuel that I have here, this is a one-stage ship. I have recently figured out the whole docking thing so I can adjust my ships, but this is a mission with just one ship altogether. So you see now that I'm able to get this as I'm doing some... I think those are called normal and anti-normal. I really should learn a lot of the jargon that's in this game, but I'm trying to bring my, trying to do a plane adjustment as well with this, because one of the problems with going to, that's a nice one, 50,000, maybe I can get a little closer, but one of the problems you run into in this game is when you try and hit a pinpoint target from so far away is that you actually tend to go above or below, and while you can above or below the target, while you can try and normalize your orbit, you can get extra style points, I guess, for going in there and kind of hitting the middle of it. But we can see my encounters drawing ever so closer. Like I said, I just want to do this as efficiently as I can, bringing down the periaps as much as possible. You can see my maneuver nodes wiggling. You can see kind of a lot of things, and this is a lot of what Kerbal Space Program is, and like I said, the kind of stuff that many people will edit through, and that's me editing. So we're just going to go ahead and time accelerate and go straight to the Duna encounter. Not so bad. Let's going ahead, and I did time warp and miss this once or twice in the video, so that kind of sucks, but you can see here's our encounter. Duna's right there. You can see a flag that's been planted in there for my first mission. I'm not looking to land right near there, but actually I did a really good job with my plane. I'm coming in just below the planet, which is pretty nice, and I do actually get my my apoapsis down to 6,000. And I don't know if that's too much or not too much. Like I said, I don't know so much about how deep I can go into the atmosphere, but damn it, I'm going to find out. Let's just do some quick adjustments as I'm time accelerating just to get a little bit closer. Hopefully not overshooting the planet as we're getting right there. And we're going to be getting to see Duna up close and personal as we get a little bit of view of Ike, maybe get an Ike eclipse here at some point, I don't know. But for now, one nice thing that I have in my position is that I do have plenty of fuel left. I can use that to slow down, but right now you're going to see what part of the advantage of the aero capture is because it's going to bend that line of the orbit around, and eventually it's going to bring it back into a circle. It's going to be a very long elliptical orbit, but that makes it easier to get back into the surface. Now, as you can see, Duna, like Mars, has some atmosphere, but not a lot. Landing on it is a lot like landing on the moon. You just need, but you can get some benefit from parachutes. I'm not really sure if jet engines work on Duna. If they do, I'm sure they have very limited use or scope, but otherwise Duna does have some pretty good gravity. As you can see, it is pulling me in and should be adjusting. Poor Gilbro's orbit. I say poor because you're going to see here in just a minute that 6,000, for those of you who are watching and know, is a little too close to cut it for an aero capture move. As you can see right there, the line of my orbit is going straight through the planet, through that nice plateau ridge, as Gilbro is starting to open his mouth saying, oh my god, we are on an instant collision course, going way too fast, and maybe I could have BS'd the landing right here. It's entirely possible. I did have everything together, but instead I opt to load, do it again, get a better approach angle, and I would have loved to shown y'all fiery death, but I've had some problems loading from a quick save in that environment. So 12,000, that should be much better, because I do actually want to show you working aero capture for those of you who are not necessarily familiar how to do it, because there is not re-entry heat damage and I don't have that mod installed. Pretty much the entry fire effects are just there for show, and they're a pretty glowy, sparkly show. But what this effect is getting pulled and influenced enough by the gravity and dragged by the atmosphere of the planet to eventually, you can see that blue line starting to curve in. And I could actually try, if I wanted to, as you can see the night sky disappearing, no stars there because we're actually in the atmosphere now. And my ship is slowly going butt first. I still have my RCS on for some reason, but there we go. Duna escape. It's going to be flipping around any second now. I'm just going around. This is how the air capture works. You go through the atmosphere. I guess 12,000 is good enough because I'm about to be in a Duna orbit. There we go. Perfect. That time. Only took 2 tries. So Gilbro, you've now been captured by Duna. We're going to jump here just a little bit so we can see that I'm at the periaps, and I do have a small retrograde burn to make. And I don't exactly know the period of the planet, so I'm not entirely sure when it's going to be rotating and where I land. I'd like to land in that canyon if possible, but Duna is not like the moon that's pockmarked and sometimes very difficult to land in. So it might be okay here. So this is just, like I said, this is a little bit edited, but we're going to go straight to the kind of landing sequence. You could say the meat and potatoes of this video, because landing on Duna, it's not as difficult as some other planets because you do have the atmosphere. But part of the challenge is just dealing with the fact that you have to travel so far in space just to get to Duna. So I take this nice and slow. I want to get this right the first time. The first time I landed on Duna, it took about 7 or 8 attempts. And it, like I said, it was with a similar model to this ship, but I've installed, I think, 4 or 6 extra parachutes compared to what I had before. So the parachutes are actually going to do something. Last time I totally underestimated or overestimated the effect that Duna's atmosphere would have for this. So part of the reason I still have that last rocket attached is that it's going to do my first burn to really slow down, but eventually I am going to ditch it. We're just going to go butt first burn using the RCS, where really I could use the SAS by now. I have plenty of electrical charge, especially since I had the solar panels out for so long, but what can you do? I'm not a pro, I'm an amateur. My space program is not landed or sent rovers all over crazy places. Hell, I haven't even had a return trip from Duna yet. Maybe today will be the day. You can see that flag, it's on the other side of the planet. So right now I am going for a relatively flat surface, as there's Ike in the sky again. I think I take a picture, yep. As Gilbro not screaming his head off this time. This is what's in the mission log IP. I'm not sure what you call it, the mission MO. That's probably redundant as hell to say. But I just want to get my orbit trajectory way, way, way slower. Do I use my SAS? I hope so at some point. But you can see I am on a collision course, as Gilbro's like, maybe I should be a little more worried. He's not the bravest, he's not the smartest, but he's the man in the tin can. And I could dump my fuel and just try and do a straight suicide drop here. I guess it wouldn't really be a suicide drop because I do have parachutes and stuff, but like I said, there's plenty of jargon, things I am still learning about Kerbal Space Program, but for now, it's just going to be a nice slow descent. I'm really taking my time here. If I was a little more elite, maybe it'd be different, but I am below 500 orbit meters per second, and that was kind of what I was targeting for my fuel. Probably would have been the better play just to use all my remaining fuel before I ditch, but I just decided to ditch because I'm below 20,000 meters and I got to start thinking about my future here in just a little bit. So there goes that part, as I don't really want to be landing on that. But it's going to be crashing into the surface near us. Maybe if I had something better I could go try and explore the parts, but for now, just falling into the beautiful red hellscape that is Duna. And Gilbro, you really shouldn't be worried too much. You've been to flight school for like a day. You should know how to fly in this, as I'm getting below 10,000 meters. Once again, I have no idea when I should deploy my parachutes here. Probably should be when it gets to the cyan color instead of the deep blue color of the atmosphere meter. But I think I do engage my parachutes a little early on this trip, but I have a bunch of them. My bigger thing is that I want to get my speed way down because I'm hitting 5,000 meters, and to be honest, I have no idea how close I am to the ground. I could hit the cockpit button, which will let me look at an actual altimeter and let me know just how much, but I like to put my parachutes up here just to try and slow my descent. I can see rocks, so I know I'm close because the meter gauge at the top is sea level. So like I said, this is not a live commentary. If this was a live commentary, I'd probably go in serious mode because there is some precision stuff that has to be done here, as I'm really trying to push and get rid of that speed. And there's the parachutes doing way more. With the last time I was still falling at like 20 or 30 meters per second with the parachute. So having the extra ones are nice. Not perfect. Don't even have my landing gears engaged. Still falling way too fast to survive, but I can see my shadow. So I'm close. Landing gears, glad I remember that. Really the only major design alterations on this for my first Duna lander are the extra fuel tanks on the bottom there, just for some extra fuel for extra movement, and the extra parachutes, which are key. Just got to get my speed down, slowly. This is a nice feeling. When I was doing this, I could just say, I know I'm going to make it. Other than that one colossal screw up, it's not going to be a repeat of last time. I'm actually going to land, and there we go. Parachutes magically disappear. I am on Duna. Congratulations, Gilbro. Maybe you will survive to return. And now the fun part, putting down the ladders, which I could have put on an action group, but I didn't. And I get to just walk around a little bit. Just take a nice look at the moon, Ike, and everything. But yeah, this is kind of the small victories of Kerbal Space Program, because Duna is a place that a lot of people go to. It's one of the easiest planets to get to, but still, just the fact of doing it kind of on the act of actually doing it yourself is really the appeal for me to Kerbal Space Program. And I don't mean that in terms of I didn't look at any guides. You bet your ass I looked at guides. I looked at all kinds of information. But I didn't just download a craft file and use all kinds of mods and everything. I wanted to. The mods are good. Mods will be there for me when I try and do things more complicated later. But for now, as I'm learning the game, I want to actually learn the game stock. So that way I can better understand when I do start using mods, whether it's part mods or MechJeb or something, to just know what things mean. But there we go. happy face. Let's plant that flag. Probably type something not very clever. But you know what? Made it to Duna. Exciting times. I still need to change that flag. But now, I mean, I'm at 1,000, just about 1,000 meters. I'm actually pretty elevated in the Duna atmosphere, which is pretty nice. But there we go, one perfect touchdown as opposed to the about 7 or 8 explosions I had on the ground the last time I did that, which I was also recording that attempted mission, but unfortunately the sound levels were stupidly off. So pretty much you couldn't hear anything I was saying over the roar of the engine. So I'm doing this one a little bit differently, but that's neither here nor there. Instead, just yay, happy times, accomplishment. This part of the video probably took about 30-45 minutes just to make it to Duna from ship design to here. That was the easy part. The hard part was this part, leaving. Because I'm not great at leaving places. I don't exactly know when I should be doing my gravity turn. I don't know how high up in the atmosphere I should be going. I just don't know what the hell I'm doing in this part of the video, but that's kind of, you play, you learn. This is actually from my second attempt to leave. My first attempt, I'd circularized my orbit at about 30,000 kilometers, and then it's times 4 time acceleration. It still dragged me back into the planet, which wasn't good. But now I'm flying, just trying to circularize my orbit once again. This is where most of my fuel is going to be committed, as I do start to sort of hug my butt cheeks and say, wait a minute, do I have enough fuel to do this, or I'm going to be trapped like before? Once again, I'm going to be trying to A, do an aero capture back into Kerbin just to make things work, and B, gotta wait for the appropriate time to actually fly back. But part of the challenge here is that I'm not flying from a 90-degree pane, so I did edit out literally about an hour or so of me just screwing up, not being able to turn this into something that takes me back into Kerbin. And there are some really, really nice mods out there for actually seeing where phase angles are when return trajectories work and everything. But for now, I'm just doing a burn that I know there's a special name for it that someone can point to me and tell me what it is. But for now, the most important thing is that I have a Kerbin encounter. And I did run into some weird bugs here. Like I was doing I had to reload once just because I was OCD and wanted to do things. And I actually lost my Kerbin encounter on the reload, which was really, really, really bizarre. And then I reloaded again, and there it was. But you can see Kerbin flying below. You see that pod that is flying in such a weird shape around there? It is not orbiting Minmus. That is my other mission. It's stranded. That one right there that's currently to about 4 o'clock of where I was there. That's not a Minmus one. That is just stupidly orbiting Kerbin. That was how close I was to making it. And if I had done an aero capture and been a little smarter with my play before, maybe I would have made it. But for now, I have a Kerbin encounter with a sweet, sweet periapsis of about 60,000, 50, 40. How close are we going to take this to the surface? Let's go to about 30. That should be more than enough for an aero capture maneuver. And I just go a little bit close. Actually, the first time I did this, I fast-forwarded way past the planet and went back out to orbit the sun forever and ever, and we were all very happy. But now instead, you can see that I'm going back to home sweet home. And what's really nice about that is, first off, I wasn't exactly sure how much more fuel I'd need if I'd need to circularize my orbit and go on. But what I end up doing here is, you can't really call it a skip maneuver, but I do enter the atmosphere, bounce back out, and then go back in here. So I did go deep enough to not only bring myself into Kerbin capture, but just to bring myself into a landing here. So what that means is that I actually, if I had assigned those parachutes to an action group or manually deployed them at the same time, I could have actually landed with the same ship and had that all together and said, hey, this is our first survival ship home, let's take it to a museum. If I was an even better badass, I could have tried to land just outside the Kerbal Space Center, but nope, for now I'm just happy to be landing. Gravity's doing all the work for me. And I decided to ditch everything that I've got except for the pod. Totally unnecessary move. Kind of wish I hadn't, but you know, it's just parts. Got to get Gilbro home to tell the story, you could say. So I'm going to be landing in a mountain range that I believe is southwest of the Kerbal Space Center. And my thinking right now is, oh my god, I've just ditched everything. Am I actually going to land into the face of a mountain and explode? Which is entirely possible, so we get a little bit of fire. Going back in here as I do my second entry into the atmosphere. Not a dramatic entrance. It's more of a quiet peep. But fortunately, and I'm looking down to see where I could possibly be landing, it looks like I'm not going to be landing on the side of a mountain. It looks like I'm going to be landing in a nice valley before the mountain range. Of course, it's a nighttime landing, which isn't ideal, but I don't exactly have the fuel to make this pretty. But still, nighttime landing, you get to see all the stars, you get to see the nice, very tall mountains. But that's where I am, that's where I'm going. Everything is going according to plan. So yeah, just like that. Made it from Duna, and assuming my parachute does not malfunction here, made it back in one ship. Now, I did mention before that I have sort of figured out the docking thing, and that took quite a bit of practice and a lot of work. But what that means now is that I can, if I choose to, start doing some other missions that involve not just having one whole built ship together, one ship that has to be put up and down like this one. I could make a ship with multiple stages and something that detaches, kind of like the actual moon missions or moon studio missions, depending on who you believe, where they had a rover or where they had other things that detached from an orbiting structure and went down to the surface. Those are going to be things that will be necessary on planets like Eve, but even easier to navigate planets that would be pretty nice. So I can have more complicated rocket designs, but for now we have the happy parachute. Gilbro is going to survive. He'll be my first Kerbal space person to survive, going from Eve, or oh my god, not from Eve, going from Kerbin to Duna, walking on the surface, and coming back. Was it for science? Maybe, but I didn't take any science instruments or anything. Instead, he's just floating down on his own. So, yeah, this is what Kerbal Space Program's like. For those of you unfamiliar with the game, you design ships, you fly around the space places, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, right now it's pretty free-form, free-flowing. There is a career mode that is planned in the future, but it is a game worth playing, worth picking up, even at full price. Because there is a lot of content, a lot of trial and error, a lot of fun things to do, and a great community surrounding it that's willing to give a lot of help. But here we are. We're going to be having a good, safe landing. So I guess this is going to be pretty much it for me for now. And for poor little Gilbro here. Just about to, whoop, there is through the Kerbal surface, but there is the safe landing. We have made it. We're home. The Duna Duster Mark II, because Mark I was not enough, has made it back, and we are actually really far away from pretty much anything, and not even close to the Kerbal Space Center. I'm southeast across the sea, so gonna need a rescue pickup, but otherwise, this is way to fail. Flying in Kerbal Space Program. Great game. Would like to do more of this, I think. But hopefully you all enjoyed it. Hopefully if you all play too, just, yeah, send some ideas. There's plenty of missions to be had in this game, but that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you all next time.